congrats on the very positive reception at Cannes. David, I was just kind of curious about what your thoughts were on that first screening and the reception that the film received.
Well, the first screening was fantastic. I mean, the reaction of the audience was wonderful. Nobody did walk out, as it turned out, even though I thought maybe some people would. Um, the ovation was very sincere. We were all there. You can sort of tell if they mean it or not. And
Yes.
can be very brutal. When people don't like your film, you really know it. They definitely were engaged, and I think the only thing that I would criticize that audience for was that they were afraid to laugh. And I later talked to some people in the audience, and they said exactly they weren't sure if they were allowed to laugh at the funny things because, of course, Cannes can be very intimidating. Everybody's wearing tuxedos and ball gowns and high heels. I was not, but and so there were a couple of lines that did get laughs, but there's a lot of humor in the movie, but it's strange humor, and I think they were a little intimidated by their own presence in a weird way.
Towards the end, they started to relax.
They started to loosen up. Yeah, that's true. And so basically, you couldn't really have a better screening. I mean, it was as good as any other I've had.
It's funny because that was actually going to be one of my questions that or statements is that, I think people would be surprised by how funny the movie is. Obviously, a very sort of offbeat sense of humor. But there's plenty of humor in your filmography. It's just maybe underappreciated. Can you talk about how you use
to balance that? I often say all of my movies are comedies, and of course I don't mean it literally, but I'm trying to stress that there is humor because I think there is humor in life. I mean, it's one of our coping mechanisms. It's the only way you can survive. If you have no sense of humor, you're dead in the water. And I feel that a movie is a person in that sense. And a movie with no humor whatsoever is not a complete movie.
Most people probably know by now that this is a script that you were working on well over 20 years ago. I'm curious how similar the final product we have now is to your original vision for it back, in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I have no original vision. You have to understand that. So I know people often say, here's the movie, and over here is your vision of it. And do they match how much? There is no original vision. I mean, there's the script, but that's it. So it's basically, and I didn't change the script, one word of the script from 20 plus years ago to when we were shooting.
Right.
There was just one draft. That's it. So basically, it's a process, a creative process of accumulation of details, where you're shooting, who you've cast, what the costumes are, how the machines that you're inventing in this particular, how they evolve in terms of their design and so on. And so it's a constant accumulation of details, basically, rather than suddenly there's a vision, you understand everything in the movie, and now you try to make it happen in reality. That's not the way it really works at all. There's a lot of discovery in making the movie, and frankly, I would be completely bored if I had the movie totally in my head, shot for shot, lighting, costumes, everything, and now I'm well, Hitchcock used to pretend that he did that, and he called the actual shooting of the movie grinding it through the machine, because he liked to say that he controlled everything with storyboards and all of that stuff.
That's not true.
Well, I mean, look, Anthony Perkins in Psycho brought a lot.
Yes.
And so before he cast him, how could he anticipate some of the things that actor would do?
Right.
That so-called vision cuts out the collaboration, the input of actors, for example, or all your designers. It's sort of basically it's an ego thing.
Right.
You're saying, I'm the director, I controlled and imagined everything. Nobody else contributed anything. It can't be true.
Right.
It can't be true.
Well, to that point, Scott,
that's a long answer to a short question.
No, that's fine. I'll take it. Scott, to that point, though, what were your initial impressions of the script and working with David and talking about your character and how he fits into this world?
We didn't talk a lot, which is great. I mean, I got the instinct early on after I got the offer, after I got the script and digested it, for lack of a better way to say it, over and over and over again. I got the instinct quickly that David, and this is how I like to work too, is if you understand it and he's cast you, you know, it's up to you to bring whatever you're going to bring to the character and the story on that day and in the movie in general. So that was a good symbiotic kind of relationship. I could tell not a lot of talk was necessary. You know, I understood it. I understood the character. I wanted to let it rip when the cameras were on. And the more I read it, the more I sat with it, the more I could feel this character kind of bubbling up inside of me. Yeah, there's the crazy elements of the character and what he's doing, but when you boil it all down, I started to get that pretty quickly.
What was the atmosphere like on this?
The only thing I could remember saying to you, Scott, at one point was that your character is really the emotional center of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is, you know, that could get lost in the shuffle, but basically because of your relationship with your dead son and so on, not to spoil the movie, but that is the emotional motor that drives so much of the movie.
Yes.
And the character expresses it too in no uncertain terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what is the atmosphere?
That was about it for directing. Otherwise, I just press play on Scott and he goes and does it.
It's kind of true, which is great. I love it. Yeah.
Well, I was just talking to Viggo and he said that you're actually usually very quiet on set, which means things are going the way you like.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, often people say, is there a director on the set? I mean, people who visit the set, especially with masks, they say there's no director. He said action. He must be the director. It's basically, for example, as Scott intimated, casting is a huge part of directing, but it's rarely addressed or thought about by fans of directing or movies. Casting is more than half the battle. You know, if you get the right actor in the right role, then as a director, for me, that's the main struggle over. You know, you've done that. And then there's just minor adjustments. You know, if there's a misstep or a misunderstanding, you adjust it. It's very slight. For the rest, I want to see what the actor brings. You know, we don't have long discussions. We don't do rehearsals. It's just go out there. Let's see what your intuition tells you. And then if we need to talk, we talk. If not, I say, great, next shot.
I love that. I really love that.
Yeah.
I have to wrap up, but David, one last question. Do you know what your next film is, if you have plans for one?
Well, you never know, but yes, I have a script called The Shrouds that I've written. I originally went to Netflix with it to see if it would work as a series. It got to a certain, couple of episodes, and then they decided not to go ahead with it. But I really loved what I had written, and so now it will be a movie. If all the cards, all the stars align properly, that would be my next movie, The Shrouds.
Oh, that's very exciting. Well, thank you guys so much for your time, and again, congrats on the film, and good luck with everything.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can feel you pulling things around in there.
It's a brand new organ. Never before seen. We've all felt that the body was empty. Empty of meaning. And we've wanted to confirm that, so that we could fill it with meaning.
The world is a much more dangerous place now that pain has all but disappeared.
Surgery is sex, isn't it?
Is it?
You know it is. Surgery is the new sex.
But I don't like what's happening with the body. In particular, what's happening with my body. Which is why I keep cutting it up. What do you think they'd find inside it?
Outer space.
Whoops. Sorry.
Let us not be afraid to map the chaos inside. Let us create a map that that will guide us into the heart of darkness.